Hey, what's going on internet? Joshua Noel from Sunduck Film. Thank you for clicking on this video. In this tutorial, we'll be talking about how to create a cartoon scene like this one right here. So I know that preview was very short, however you can make your own cartoon scenes as long as you want them to be, but this tutorial is just going to be talking about the basics of setting up this type of scene. If you want to follow along with this tutorial, you can go to the link in the description, which will bring you to my website, and then download the files. That will contain all the vectors that we will be working with for this video. We will not be creating the actual vectors in Illustrator since that's a whole separate video on its own, which I will be coming out with very soon. If you get the chance, check out my digital store on my website. I provide great deals for intros, animated videos, websites, and graphic design elements. Let's go ahead and jump over to After Effects and get started on this. The first thing we need to talk about is creating a new composition. The frame size of standard HD is 1920 by 1080. However, since we need a lot more space to work with in order to have a little bit of a tracking shot or a scaling shot, we have to make a bigger composition than 1920 by 1080. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the width to probably about 4,000 and the height to be probably around 1600. So that will give us a bigger composition to work around and kind of design our shot once we're done. So click OK. When setting up a scene like this, there's really no right answer to what to start with first. So what I like to do is just kind of set up the background and get the basic elements in there. So for example, I would like to create a sky by going up to Layer, New, Solid. Make that a light blue. Click OK, and we call this layer Sky. And then we can go ahead and create some grass. So we make a new layer, Solid, and make it green. Call this one Grass. Alright, then what we need to do is we just need to pull this down a little bit. So now we have a sky and some grass. I don't really like the color of this green, so I'm going to kind of change this. Maybe more of a yellow green. Yeah, that's better. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is create some hills. So I'm going to create a new solid and probably make it a little bit dark green. There we are. Call this one Hills. Then I'm going to go to the pen tool right here. And then I'm going to click off the layer and click a point here. Kind of make these hills. Drag out the vertices to create lumps. And just keep doing that all the way across until you get to the other side. And then just close the mask. And now we have some hills. And then we need to put this layer underneath the grass layer. And then we can kind of move this up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and drag down our house as our first vector. Put this in here. I'm going to just go ahead and click and position it where I want it to be. I'm going to scale it up a little bit by hitting S on my keyboard. Let me push it back. Okay, one thing you want to keep in mind when working with vectors is that you want to continuously rasterize the layers by clicking this button right here. And that will keep all the details when you scale a vector, so you can scale it up to be extremely big and you won't lose an ounce of detail, so it won't pixelate. Now we need to create a road, so I'll go up to the rectangle tool right here, and I'm just going to drag a nice little road across our screen here. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and change the fill of this layer. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe make it a little bit lighter. Click OK. Then I'm going to go ahead and create another rectangle here. I'm going to drag this one. I'm going to put this rectangle to be our dashes in our road. So kind of drag a nice little rectangle. Then we need to go ahead and change the fill. I'm going to change it to white. It could be yellow or whatever color you want it to be. Then what we need to do is add a repeater. So I'm going to click Add and Repeater. And then what that's going to do is if we can create a bunch of copies going all the way across our road here, so we don't have to duplicate this layer 100 times. All right. Then I'm going to go to Transform right here and drag out this position to go ahead and break up the lines. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is create a sidewalk. So what I'll do is click off my shape layer and go back to the rectangle tool and just drag a entire sidewalk across. Then we go to the rectangle 1, go to fill, click on color, make this, not a full white, but, a light gray. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this rectangle by selecting it and hitting Command D on my keyboard, or going up to Edit, Duplicate. Then I'm going to go to the selection tool and just drag this one down. So now we have a sidewalk. Then what I need to do is create a driveway, and I'm going to want to make this house a little bit smaller too, and actually push it back. It's not in the right spot. Maybe I'll just scale it down just a touch. Okay. That should be okay. I'm going to go ahead and create a driveway for this house now. And all I'll do is, kind of just create that same, texture to go right into our sidewalk. That looks pretty good. Then I'm going to go ahead and create like a walkway for our front door here, which might need to reposition. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and create another rectangle tool to go across to right here. And that looks pretty good. So now what we need to do is start adding a lot more, details to the scene, making the scene a lot more lively since we got the basic elements set up here. So now we can get kind of creative with this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to select these 3 layers and push them back just a little bit because, I want some foreground room to put some trees in there. So I got a tree right here, and I want to go ahead and put this in the foreground of our composition. So I'll drag it in here, put it probably right there, scale this down. That should be okay. Make sure you select a continuously rasterized layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. Hold down Shift so we can kind of keep it proportional. Select these 2 layers, duplicate them. Hold down Shift and drag them. Select these 4, duplicate them. And just hold down Shift and drag them across. And, that should be okay. It's not perfect, but, for the sake of this tutorial, I don't want to waste too much time. Then now what we can do is probably add some more trees up here. I'll use the same layer. Make them maybe just a little bit smaller. Put it right there. Duplicate it. Maybe make it a little bit bigger, add some variety to the scene. So I want to add some depth in our scene. So, what I'll do is I'll add this cluster of trees into our comp. We're going to want to go ahead and put this layer underneath all of our previous layers here. I'll probably go ahead and put it underneath the house. Then we'll go ahead and just position a tree line of a cluster of trees, and maybe we'll scale this a little bit. Rasterize the layer, duplicate the layer, and continue just to kind of duplicate these layers and go across, and we can have this depth. Go ahead and probably put one more right here. So I want to start working on the background right here. So this sky is not really realistic enough for me. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go to our sky layer, and I'm going to click on Effect, Generate, Gradient Ramp. Alright, what I'm going to do here is keep it linear. Black is good. Probably put the white point right here. Then what I'll do is I'll click on the start color of the black color here. Create this, darker tint blue, and then click on our end color of white here, and maybe do like a white or a light blue. Kind of create a nice little gradient in the sky. And that doesn't look so bad. Okay, that looks pretty good. And we'll continue to build depth in the scene. So I have some clouds here. I'll just go ahead and put this at the top of our layers. Put this in the sky. Have another cloud layer. Scale this one down. Okay, and then, we want to create some mountains. So I'll drag in these vector mountains. And we need to go ahead and put these layers underneath our all of our elements already. So I'll just go ahead and just drag this one down. Probably put it underneath our hills. Looks good. Put some more mountains in there. Put our third mountain. Maybe duplicate this mountain. I want to use it again, maybe over here. What I'll do is I'll hit the S on my keyboard to bring up scale. I'll break the link on the scale, and I'll make it a little bit, drag it out to make it a little bit more fat. And that kind of creates a depth in here. These cloud layers a little bit in my way, but we'll fix those a little bit later. Alright, so right now we got some good depth in here. I have also an air balloon that I could put into here. Create some more character. I'll go ahead and scale that one up. Maybe not so much. Rest. Make that a vector. Okay. Looks good. Now we can kind of continue to add more elements to our comp here, like a lamp. Put this on the street, scale this one down. Duplicate it. So now we basically got most of the elements in this scene already set up. So I want to go ahead and add some cars into here. So I have a truck layer. I'll just bring into here. And then we got to go ahead and position this correctly over the right layers. So I'm just going to go ahead and just drag this down until we get the right spot. And perfect. Probably go ahead and scale this layer down. And then I have one more card that we'll put in here. We'll have start over here and scale that one down. So this scene is pretty much set up and ready to go. We can start animating this thing. So the first thing I'll do, maybe I'll start with this truck. We'll bring a P on our keyboard to bring up position. Hit the stopwatch. Move ahead in time. Maybe we'll move ahead, 3 seconds. And move the X position out. And that's going to be a problem right there. So I need to go ahead and move the car layer underneath the truck. Then bring up P on our car layer. Move to front of time here. Hit the stopwatch. Move to maybe 3 seconds. And just drag this one out. So now we have a simple little animation going on here. Make sure we turn on motion blur. And then, we can animate these clouds up here. So go to the top, select one cloud here, hit, go to the beginning of the timeline, hit P on our keyboard, hit position, go to maybe, 4 seconds. It doesn't really matter. And, kind of how this one move out, go to the second cloud, hit position. So now with the clouds are moving, we have some more animation going on. Let's go ahead and animate this air balloon. So we'll hit, position our keyboard, position keyframe. Move the y-axis up to go up in the air a little bit. So even more depth than we got here. So that's pretty much all the animation that we can do realistically. And I just noticed that we have some layers that are not perfect. So I'll need to go ahead and move these lamp layers underneath our car layer. So what we can do now is create a new composition, and we can call this one main. And we want to make this composition 1920 by 1080. And then click OK. Then what we'll do is we'll drag in our comp that we've been working into this composition, and then we'll bring up position on our keyboard and put this all the way to the start of our animation here. We'll also bring down the scale and bring the position back over. Now we can kind of create the tracking shot that we want. So I'll hit both of these keyframes for scale and position. Move over to 3 seconds, and we'll just have this go along here. And then maybe we can zoom in a little bit as we kind of work our way into the animation. So what we can do is create some foreground hills. So we're back in our big composition. What we can do is create a new solid, call this one foreground hills, and make sure you set the color to maybe a dark green, and click OK. And what we'll do is we'll just create some foreground hills. And then what we'll do is hit P on our keyboard, bring up position, hit keyframe for position, and maybe move ahead 15 seconds, and we'll just have this one drag all the way down. So now we go to our main comp. As the camera moves in, we kind of reveal our scene here, and we focus in on the truck. So that's pretty simple. What we need to do is add motion blur for our layers. So I'll go ahead and just toggle motion blur for everything here, and make sure we turn that on. So now as we move in, there'll be some blur going on. Also, what we could do is, if we want to add maybe a title to our truck, what we could do is just go to our truck layer and go to Layer, Pre-Compose, and leave all attributes in Comp 1. Double click the comp and type on the truck, whatever you want to put in there. So I could put, subscribe. Which you should really consider subscribing. It would be really awesome. Go back to the main here, and as you can see, the word subscribe will be on the truck. So that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to learn how to create these vectors, I'll be posting those videos in the near future. So till then, please subscribe. A lot more videos to come on After Effects, DaVinci Resolve, and filmmaking techniques. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. See you guys soon.